Welcome back to another episode of The Opposition, brought to you by Rebel News Australia and The Real Rukshan. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good today, mate. Good. Another episode.
This
should be interesting, this one.
This one?
You got to tell the guest what it's about?
Tell him about what it's about.
No.
We don't want him to know what it's about. Today we've got Leon. Leon, how do I pronounce your surname? You got one of the
trouble pronouncing it myself. Kofmansky.
Kofmansky. Now, the reason we chose Leon because we were discussing who to bring on for this specific episode. Did we tell him yet what we're actually doing?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Neither the token Jewish guy on the show.
Yeah. So we did discuss that.
I'm a reader.
Actually, I'm with two Jewish men. I can say, yeah, token Jewish guy.
No, because
I'm comfortable saying
Rukshan said, I don't think you're Jewish enough for this. We need somebody that looks the part, plays the part. No, someone that looks the part doesn't just play the part.
Yeah.
No, but today we're going to go and do a reaction of the last video we did. And I think it is good to have another Jewish perspective, a different Jewish perspective.
Oh, look, definitely. I mean, it's really pertinent to the Jewish community, what's happening in Melbourne right now surrounding this. So I definitely think it's important to hear from Jewish voices on this.
Because anti-Semitism is real. You can pretend like it isn't. Sometimes our community, you know, I feel like they cry wolf too much when it's not important, but then at other times they're kind of quiet. It seems like one group of Jew hatred is easy to call out, and we saw that with the politicians since the reaction of this video. Easy to call out the Nazis because absolutely nobody likes Nazis and everybody knows that. But then the anti-Semitism on the other side is never called out.
Isn't that interesting? And I need to, one thing I want to say, there's a small group within the Jewish community that are self-appointed, that are self-appointed leaders. They don't represent the majority of the Jews. So these people that are crying wolf do not represent us at all, and they're self-serving and do it for their own political interests. And you're right, there is on the other side an anti-Semitism that exists on the left that has been very dominant, very problematic for the wider Jewish community, and it hasn't been acknowledged by the establishment, and they're only looking at the other side, which is also problematic, by the way. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm looking forward to
I mean, I'd also love to just also hear your thoughts on this phenomena where we're seeing, you know, even someone that looks like me being called a Nazi.
That's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, we definitely, I think we need to get to that as well because it's happening a lot.
And again, it's those same groups that are not getting condemned. And it's a good point Leon makes is about those certain Jews that it's actually their job. They've monetized waking up every morning to be offended and looking for anti-Semitism. They're looking like sometimes I literally believe these organizations spray swastikas on buildings just because they always seem to be the first at the scene, and they're doing a big, you know, shot, and it's a front cover of the Herald Sun. Oh my God, there's a swastika. Swastika is a pretty evil symbol. We can agree on that, but there's some actual real bad anti-Semitism that they ignore because it's not politically popular.
Spot on.
So we're going to get into the video. We're going to watch the Antifa and Nazis on the streets protesting.
Two sides of the same coin.
There you go. So you've obviously watched it, but now we're going to watch it back and react. We've got some sound. There we go. Yeah. So warning.
What are you doing, Daniel?
Hey.
I've asked you nicely. Stay back.
This is a bit of the cold opening to get you a bit excited to watch Daniel's.
Very intimidating guy. I don't understand how they can get close to him.
Anti-Nazis have attacked the only Jew in the crowd.
I do enjoy the fact that I can play that card.
You're so brave covering your face there.
No, is that me? I press. Hold on, we want to get to the actual.
Why are you so
All right. I'm Yemini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia, where a group of about 20 to 30 neo-Nazis are gathering for what they have planned an anti-immigration protest. But here today, a counter-rally of so-called anti-fascists have gathered in the hundreds. We're here today to speak to both sides. One has been widely condemned, the other not so much.
Let's see how it plays out. This is the first time I'm coming to a protest where both sides hate me equally. I'm excited.
I don't hate you, Alvy.
You don't?
I don't.
Oh.
These guys do.
These guys. All right, so let's talk to the ones that hate me. You're standing against the Nazis today?
You are too.
Is that exciting? That the first time in first time in your activism, you get to stand against.
Are you here with us against the Nazis?
I'm here to do my job. I'm here to cover both sides.
You love that.
As a Jewish person.
Are you here to stand with us against the Nazis?
I mean, I thought that was a default position.
That you're there to stand against the Nazis?
I mean, that's a default position in society.
Yeah, it is.
Why does it need to be clarified?
Do you, as you know, I'm known as a Jew, but you look like a Jew.
I'm easily identifiable, exactly.
Now, from your, I guess, personal experience, what do they like to call it? Personal lived experience. Do most people hate Nazis?
Yes, I mean, it's popular within popular culture. It's very much ingrained. Ever since the Nazis lost the Second World War, it's become a popular thing. Whereas, one thing I noticed about the neo-Nazis in that clip, they were on their best behavior. And the reason is, I mean, they are prone to violence, but the reason is they know that they're being scrutinized. Whereas on the other side, these guys are really violent. And the reason is because society's given them a blank check to be violent. The government, the establishment of society.
Speak a little closer. I know you're not as used to me and, more me. Rukshan, this is his first time. He had to build a studio to get popular. But, you just got to talk nice and close to the mic. But that is actually a really good point.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, generally, the behavior that we're seeing, this is the second time I've seen this behavior because I was actually at the women's rights rally as well, where these, so-called neo-Nazis first gate crashed. And even then, what they're doing might look offensive. There's the symbolism or the gestures, but the actual behavior, it's like they're on their best behavior that day. So the police are in a difficult position as well. But the other side, when you compare it to these people who we know are bad people with bad thoughts and so forth, when you compare the two, the other side looks, crazy. And like you said, they've been given a blank check.
I didn't think of it that way, and that actually, I was trying to work out why is it, and you actually you've pointed it out that in a way that makes sense. That makes total sense. Is that they know they have to behave, and how bad do you have to be to make Nazis look good? And that's what they managed to do. We'll keep watching anyways.
As a Jewish person, you see white people congregating in mass. You see white people being explicitly self-interested in their preservation as
it's amazing how he just makes assumptions.
Assumes
existence.
Why are you assuming what I feel? Like, I'm just looking at him. He looks like Antifa.
I'm a very simple guy. I'm just looking at
how you be like him.
I mean, he must be psychic. He knows exactly what Jews think.
Look how they look.
Yeah, they look identical.
They look the same.
No difference.
Would you spot a difference in that?
It's by design. These two groups are two sides of the same coin. And this is not something that happened overnight. This is, if you look at history, fascism came out of communism. Mussolini was a communist and he transitioned to fascism. He founded fascism and it was a very easy transition. You look at all the Nazis, all the leading Nazis, a lot of them were former communists. It was a very easy transition for them. And there's a reason why the Nazi is an acronym for National Socialism, emphasis on the socialist part. There are some minor differences. Fascism is like a fusion between corporate interests and government interests, whereas communism is just where the state takes over everything. However, for the average person on the street, there's really not much of a practical difference because what it means is this total control, totalitarianism. This is what both of these groups actually want. You lose your freedom. There's no civil liberties and there's no upward mobility. Everyone, total top-down control and micromanagement of people's lives. And these are what both of these sides are advocating for.
Absolutely. But I guess when you argue it with Antifa, they'll say, oh, look at history. There was Antifa back, fighting actual Nazis.
The anti-fascist, that's how they say
it. Originally, and, through World War II, where they were, I don't know if they had any communist links back then, did they? They may have. They were workers. They were probably connected to the workers.
There is an element of truth to it. There were street fights, but also what they like to conveniently ignore and forget is that the Nazis and the Soviet Union were actually allies. So when Hitler invaded Poland, what's commonly forgotten, swept under the rug, is that it was a joint invasion. Hitler invaded Poland from the west, and the Soviets invaded from the east. And the reason why the Soviet Union and the Nazis went to war with each other 2 years later was because Hitler betrayed Stalin. That was the only reason.
No, I mean, makes sense.
I didn't know we got a historian.
Yeah.
I thought we just got a token Jew.
I'm a bit intimidated.
I'm actually scared to go. I'm just going to press play.
Sorry.
It better be.
But it's
right,
going to trigger a lot of leftists.
We're going to get
We're gonna
fact checked.
get fact checked,
Entities. We could have made it grey.
That's what they do. That's what they say they do.
If you eat some custard, it might help you grow.
It certainly worked for you, didn't it?
Oh,
He's a big boy.
quick thinking.
I just want to make a point. Listen, I don't usually fat shame.
Yeah.
But these guys, this group that go on about healthy body, whatever it is, what do they go on about? Not fat shaming, but all. Their first thing they jump to is my height.
Yeah.
And an interesting point. This week they're talking about in WA proposed legislation to make it illegal. I think in a workplace, the WA government wants to make it illegal to fat shame and height shame.
Yeah.
What are they going to do if I come
You can use that to your advantage.
What are they going to do? What are the left going to do when I rock up to a protest?
You get them arrested.
But the truth is, they have no shame when it comes to these kind of protests. They will use every derogatory term in the book because they see you or whoever they see as their enemy. It's justified. Any such behavior, any such derogatory language is on. And obviously that's also problematic. And it's crazy to me that they can't actually see that this is actually a part of the problem as well.
Yeah.
Well, look at your situation, Rukshan. The ridiculous situation where multiple times you've been called a Nazi and a white supremacist.
Yeah. Look, I'll be upfront about it. It's really interesting for me because for me, I have the understanding of the history of World War and all that from the Western perspective of growing up in the West. But I want to make it very clear, and this is not to downplay the role of Nazis and all this kind of stuff with what happened in Europe. But in Sri Lanka and in South Asia, the people that came to our countries back in the day during colonialism weren't German. They were British, they were Anglo. And I don't go
Portuguese
around
too.
Portuguese, the Dutch. So all these different nationalities that came and colonized our country, and all sorts of conflicts and all sorts of people claim genocide and all sorts of things. So the people that did that to my people look like these people who are today calling me a Nazi, but I don't have that same animosity towards them to label them as such for these historical things. I see the problem as the people who are these neo-Nazis, behaving in this manner, and I see it for what it is. The fact that these people can't see it for what it is, and they will use these terms against someone like me, when in fact I could turn it around and say, like, actually, no, it's not the Nazis that attacked my people. It's people that look like you. But we don't do that in our society. We can see the difference, and we can tell between good and bad. And I think that's where these people are blurring the lines. Because even though I don't have that personal connection to what happened in Europe, I still know what the Nazis did and what happened to the Jewish community, especially. I know that it is bad without having to have lived that experience. And it's obviously there's a group of people that don't care about.
They minimize. It loses all meaning when you have no shame on a day that you're protesting actual people that love the Nazi ideology, people who proudly say, and then you take a Jew and you take a black man or a Sri Lankan. What do you identify as?
Identify as Australian.
A white woman. So and then you call them Nazis and don't see what's problematic about that. And then our own community, those leaders that you were talking about, they don't actually go out there and condemn the use of that term in such a fashion, in a derogatory way, to shut down what we're saying here. Is just literally they go, are you here to stand with us? Or no, I'm here to do my job. I'm here to talk to both sides.
There's not always us and them mentality all the time. Like that's what I said all the time. I mentioned like the condemnation of that Nazi ideology is is everyone has that. It's generic to the population. Like we all know that it's bad. The fact that I have always these, particularly white people, telling me that I'm a Nazi, I find it really offensive, and I find it really weird as well. That's the charge that they put against people, like that have nothing to do with some of them. Sometimes, like it's just crazy.
These people are brainwashed by design. They're brainwashed by the university system. This is where they get all this garbage from, and they've got this, like you said, they've got this black and white view of the world. If you're not with us, you're against us, and you're automatically a Nazi. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish or black or it doesn't matter.
And it's funny because I walk in there, I go, that was the first protest I've ever been to where both sides hated me equally. I've done protests where like neither side had any feel like I didn't really know about either side. I've been to plenty of protests where I'm loved. I've been plenty of protests where I'm hated.
Yeah.
But this was one where I was equally hated by both sides. One side because they said that I was the other side, and the other side was because I am the thing that they say they hate.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's keep going. This is my old mate.
You're an Avi. All right.
This guy has a crush on me. You've seen him at a lot of things. Yeah. He carries a chopping board in his bag.
It's a bit weird.
He's he's obsessed with me. This guy. He's like always behind me. Antifa, and this was the first time that he actually walked up and talked to me.
Yeah, you could see he was shaking a bit. He had a bit of. He seemed a bit starstruck.
Very exciting. Excited.
Oh, starstruck.
He got you.
I think he dreams about me.
So, you went around asking people at the BLM rally, what about this white woman who was murdered in America?
Justine Damond is her name.
Damond.
I just want to show my
now
name.
name 3 First Nations people who died in custody in Australia.
He's conflating two different issues. They're not related to each other.
What was the point of that whole video? Do you remember that video?
Yeah, I mean, he's been holding on. That protest was a long time ago.
That was 2020.
He's been holding on to that for a long time. That
gotcha. It took him 3 years to hit the gotcha. Do you know that video?
I vaguely remember.
So what it was
3 years ago?
Yeah, it was a.
I remember you had that with Justine
Damond. So there's a Black Lives Matter rally where after George Floyd was killed, they were rallying for George Floyd, and I just went there with the one question: do you know Justine Damond? Because George Floyd was an African American criminal who, whatever, you can argue the circumstances in which he died, but Justine Damond was a white Aussie woman killed by the exact same police force. The only difference is she was white, he was black.
Yeah.
Her killer was black. His one was white. But in her case, there was nothing.
No outrage.
No, but there was also no circumstances surrounding the incident that maybe she was guilty of anything.
Yeah.
She was completely innocent.
Yeah.
She was a witness to a crime that called the police, and she was murdered. She was killed.
It only made headline news in Australia because she was an Australian.
But there was no outrage.
It made the local news in the I think she was from Minnesota.
She's
in the local news there, but didn't make headline national news.
And even worse, there was no protest for it. And the thing is, at the end of everything, George Floyd's killers were found guilty and they're being put away. Her killer,
he got out, right?
He got off it. Like he got put away and then he got out.
Yeah, for like 1 year, 1 or 2 years.
No, but I think they withdrew. I can't remember the end of the second, but he got out at the end. If it was the other way around, there would be national outrage. Anyways, we've gone off topic. The point is, what does Ming knowing?
But it wasn't just outrage. They were destroying entire cities. They were burning things down.
But what do you think they're conflating these issues?
The point here is it's taken him 3 years to do that gotcha moment about something that he I think he missed the point of the video. The point was that you're here to protest something about that, and you don't even know this. Now he's trying to say, you see, but you don't even know I couldn't name 3 people that have been killed in custody in Australia.
I think that's ironic though, because you went to Alice Springs. You spent time in Alice Springs. You were there.
None of them have.
Exactly. I mean, these are the people, the Indigenous First Nations people live in Alice Springs, live in appalling third world conditions, and none of these virtue signaling people in Melbourne or Sydney barely bat an eyelid for them.
No. Oh, they don't matter in Alice. Anyways, we'll keep going.
You see the hypocrisy in that?
But you've named a white Australian woman who died in the USA.
On the same police force that they were marching for an African-American criminal. That was the point. Why have you got a mask on?
Because of COVID.
Because he's got crumb all over his beard.
And you're wearing a helmet just in case the COVID gets you and you collapse and you're safe.
Yeah.
You are Antifa. That's what the conclusion
We are fascists. We're not anti-fascists. We're authoritarian.
They're also fascists.
No,
They're not
no, they're
anti-fascists
They
either.
are anti-fascist. They want to destroy white. Fascism to them is white people.
Are you
Like,
excited to
I just
finally
like
have
that was a really. I didn't pick it up at the time. Sometimes you're like, you got to think on your feet. But isn't that funny? He goes, they're fascist. They're anti-fascist. We are fascists. He's owning it. We are fascists. They are against us.
Yes.
And I'm like, but actually, no, they are fascists. For if you look at the meaning, the definition of fascism, they act like fascists in every single way. And then he goes and gives his explanation of what fascism, a different definition. They hate white people. Well, that's not fascism. That's not what fascism means. If you look up the definition of fascism, it's not hates white people.
Yeah. I mean, do you think then that these two groups, they're totally removed from the reality of all these issues? And really, it's about us versus them.
They need each other. That's what
Of
it
course,
is.
they thrive on each other.
Well, we're only everybody's only talking about it because each other exists. Let's say that the Nazis rocked up to Parliament that day and the anti-fascists didn't rock up. And nobody cared. And nobody went there. So it'll be a bunch of like weird-looking dudes dressed in black shorts,
Pretty much.
marching and doing like stupid symbols, and nobody gave them attention. But since they had the anti-fascists there protesting them, then suddenly there's all this interest because there's conflict now, and you've got all the cameras there, and even we're there because suddenly now this is a story, and so it goes the other way as well. The anti-fascists, the whole Antifa will run protests. Nobody cares about their protests when they're alone, but when you suddenly have the other side there, it becomes a spectacle.
They feed off each other.
They need each other.
Well, it's all portrayed as reclaiming the steps or reclaiming the parliament and all this kind of nonsense, right? So it feeds each other. Like it's a cycle. Like how does that stop? And it's just escalating more and more because they're just going at it.
Look at this. Look.
By the way, none of this radicalism existed prior to Daniel Andrews. I think Daniel Andrews is responsible for creating this radicalism with his own radical policies. I think he's really divided society with his policies, and that's radicalized people on both the left and the right.
Yeah,
I think it certainly has. There's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Things have gotten far. I don't know if it's Daniel Andrews because you see it around the world as well. Yeah. But Daniel Andrews certainly feeds to it. He leads the culture war from the left.
But just to add to this, the opposite perspective that's painted in all of this is saying that, during the pandemic and the lockdowns and all this stuff, people were also radicalized to the other side, to the far right. That's the argument that other people make. That's why these other groups have come out so much into the.
You mean Daniel Andrews' lockdowns?
Daniel Andrews
gave people so you've basically made his point in another way.
I mean, look. Ultimately, it does seem to go back to how our government's handling this because we're not really seeing this in New South Wales, in Queensland, to the extent that we're seeing
Victoria
it here.
Stands out.
And it really seems like Antifa itself, forget the neo-Nazis for 1 second, the Antifa itself, they really have a presence here in Victoria.
Yep, but they always have. They have for many years.
Presence, I feel like the presence is very much intermingled with government of the day. In terms of their views.
Yeah.
Because we had these guys, these same Antifa group, CAF and all this kind of people protesting in support of vaccine mandate.
They were,
right?
It was the same organisation, campaign against racism, fascism.
Same group.
all over Caulfield.
Yeah.
If you're an anti-vaxxer, you're a fascist.
Yeah. So like how does it, how does
the irony of that,
happen?
putting it in the Jewish...
Anti-fascist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does I can't square up their support for these pharmaceutical companies.
That's corporate fascism. That's what they're supporting. Corporate fascism. Such a thing was unheard of 10, 20 years ago. The left was very much against corporatism. Now it's...
Well, the left was traditionally also the anti-vaxxers. They would...
Exactly.
It was the left was much more anti... That they were... And the anti-vaccine society were generally left-leaning. But we've gone off track. I think that they found... It probably goes back to what Leon was saying in the beginning. You know how they've been given that blank check? I think they've been given it for a reason. And I think it's because they play their part in supporting the establishment. And so the establishment rewards them with silence for their bad behavior.
You know, Antifa is actually known as the unofficial paramilitary organization for the Democrat Party in the United States. So I would make the assumption it's probably not much different in this situation.
I think that
it's just an assumption.
I think that they're I think they're very similar here to what they are in the States. And I don't know. I think it depends. Like the Democratic Party is quite broad as well. Like you have the very left, the far left of the Democratic Party, which
AOC.
AOC and that. Well, they would consider themselves part of Antifa. So they're all they're all loosely connected. I don't know how official these things are, and let's not get banned from social
My
media.
concern is that I look at Portland, Oregon,
Yes.
Yeah.
and the extremism, radicalism that goes on there. And my concern is that might be Melbourne in 5-10 years.
Oh, I don't think that long. I think we saw that.
If you look at those towns, I think some of the major shopping malls and kind of are vacant now because the Walmart and all these kind of shops are leaving. They don't want to have business.
It's complete anarchy and chaos.
And we get a taste of that on the weekend. That's what we saw. That's exactly what we saw. In fact, this screen we're stuck on right now, you can see how welcoming and tolerant. A Jew walking up to an anti-fascist, haven't even said a word yet, and straight away I get, okay, maybe it's not the Roman salute, but it's another form of hateful symbol to a Jew.
Yeah,
I just want to keep pulling my Jew card.
Are you excited to finally have Nazis to protest?
You are.
Why are you calling the only Jew a Nazi?
You think you are great as shit.
Bang! But you see that,
Did that hurt?
union? That he looks like a union thug to me. It's just weird to see that in there. And boom, I just want to point out because I noticed it later because I wondered why it didn't hurt that much, but just watch how I blocked like a legend. My arm. It went over my arm.
Your Krav Maga skills paid off.
Honestly, I had no idea why.
Did you feel it? Did you feel it?
Like I felt it.
I saw it from far away. I had to come here, but I saw
why were
something
you
happening.
busy running away?
No. I was caught up somewhere else. But yeah, you didn't feel it.
No, it didn't. And I've judged it from a few angles. And it looks like because it was part of a pole that was connected in the middle, and because I kind of blocked it at and like it was just a reflex, and I blocked it the perfect thing that it kind of broke off the top of the thing, which hit my head. But I'm thick as
There's not much in the head.
there's
anyway.
not much it's thick.
You should walk around with a helmet.
But we're laughing about it. But like this is kind of not okay. Like this is totally not okay.
If we're speaking about, when we see this presented in the media, we see a lot of talk about how it's dangerous, violent, and we're getting these type of language used. But again, we're seeing it here expressed onto a journalist in terms of you being hit with this thing, and there's no mention of it in that fashion.
No, the way it was framed, all the reporting around this was neo-Nazis rallied on the streets. It turned violent, and so firstly, no mention that a journalist, a reporter, somebody to tell the story, not on either side, however you want to portray that, was attacked violently. Yeah. This is not like Stan Grant where racism is violence. This is racist. These guys that are pretending to be anti-racist who actually turned violent.
So why is it so hard then for the media to make, or even for our leaders, because they speak about this? We had the Liberal Party, I think
David Southwick.
David
from
Southwick.
Our Own Community. I know him.
Put out a statement.
I've seen him at many Jewish events.
Right, putting out these statements, but they don't seem to be able to condemn this very clear act of violence as well. Like, why can't you condemn both? I get it. I get why we condemn the neo-Nazis and what they're doing, but this is the same thing in a different,
And you can argue in this scenario, they were worse. They got physically violent. You're going on about their abhorrent views of the Nazis, which we all agree they have, but towards Jews, well, only one group on that day got violent to Jews, actually attacked Jews. And Southwick, who's from our community, he condemned the Nazis and said that there's no place in Victoria for Nazis, but just ignored that.
Because it's not politically convenient. That's why.
And where was the last time you saw Southwick? I like Southwick on a human level. Like
I've met him when I was campaigning. He's a lovely guy.
His kids are sweet. They're like his family's sweet. Good. Like I actually get on with him. Like on a personal level at Jewish events, he's actually a nice bloke.
Guy. But he's a mainstream politician. I mean, he acts and thinks like a mainstream politician.
And I love how he didn't back Moira. The funny thing is, right, I see him hanging out with all the ultra-Orthodox Jews and, very friendly with them. And he he condemns Moira for her views and there's no room in it. That's their whole thing. They kicked her out over. Southwick, do you realize those ultra-Orthodox Jews, that same community you are still a part of where I grew up, they share the same views as Moira. He knows that. So why is it okay for them to have those views but not his?
But you know what? Moira's views aren't even controversial. When she was at that women's rally, what were they advocating for? Spaces for women.
Yes,
in the
but I think when they talk about the broader Christian views,
right,
which those same views are shared by the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community.
That's right.
Okay, so why is it okay for a politician to suck up to the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community because it's in his electorate, but then to condemn somebody with
you've got to remember that David Southwick, as much as I like the guy, he did condemn the Orthodox Jews during the lockdowns. He came down very hard on them.
No. Did he?
So
no.
Look it up. Yeah. He condemned
for the what happened in the synagogue,
the so-called illegal prayer gatherings when they allowed sporting events.
Is it? And I don't even reckon he believes it. I just feel like he does. He says he makes statements for the same reason he made a statement here against Nazis. He's always playing a political card. I don't think he cares.
Look, I mean,
we'll invite him onto the show.
Yeah, will he come on?
Just don't tell him it's with me. No, tell him it's a Jewish event.
Yeah,
and if I'm here and we just have cameras, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. As long as he doesn't know the cameras are out, he'll be cool. Who used to be a DJ. He was actually he's actually a nice
DJ
guy.
Dave.
Really?
He's a lovely bloke.
I genuinely like the guy on a human level. I think he's a gutless politician.
Yeah.
That really ends up standing for nothing. And I'm waiting for the day to prove
of the Liberal Party.
Yeah, well, he's in the top 3 of the Liberal Party now. But that's his problem. He doesn't actually I know that really he would I think that he is more conservative. He's I guess an opportunist.
Well, what they did to Maura Dimming, I don't know if David Southwick was involved, but James Newberry and Pasuto and a few others conspired to throw her out.
Well, David Southwick's the top 3, so it's Southwick. What's her name? What's her name?
I don't know. Corsia.
Yeah, she's so important. We don't even know her name. And John Pasuto, who I still can't believe is still leading.
Well, they're unelectable. They threw her out. I mean, what she was advocating for wasn't controversial. It was just the right for women, for little girls, to be safe and use the bathroom.
And I guess that pertains to.
I think we might have to call him out for his Nazi views.
No, it makes sense with this particular issue because the Moira Dimming situation arose from this very thing.
Yes.
The inability of our leadership and our media to draw distinctions in what's happening in our society. And I think,
By the way, I want to point out that the AJA, the Australian Jewish Association,
David Adler.
David Adler, they actually backed Moira Dimming. So that's very important to point out.
Good on him. Yeah, no. David Adler and the Australian Jewish Association, whilst the establishment of the community tries to act like the Australian Jewish Association don't speak for the community, they have just as much right to represent the community as the others. They're just conservative. So it's a conservative Jewish group that an organisation to counter the left wing. And when you actually look at the broad Jewish community, when you look at Orthodox Jews, they're generally conservative, so religious, practicing Jews, not just cultural Jews like me, heritage Jews. We're talking about religious practicing Jews. They are generally more conservative, so AJA would represent them more than what all the other Jewish organisations.
You know what? They have the largest membership out of all the Jewish organisations, and they've got the largest following on social media. So they have over 30,000 people.
You're really plugging. How much is David Adler paying you to say this stuff?
But they didn't really.
Comment.
They discounted those views, though. I mean, it wasn't really. It was almost like no one from that community was supporting Moira. I mean, that's the way that it was portrayed. Like
who?
I'm just saying media. Like he was pretty much. You wouldn't know that the Jewish community was kind of...
They're split.
There's a lot of people... I think there's a lot of people in the Jewish community that support Moira.
Okay.
And, the AJA is
Orthodox Jews for sure.
Yeah.
She literally shares their views.
And even secular traditional Jews. There's a lot of secular traditional Jews, conservative Jews that would support her as well.
We get a bad rap. Our community gets an extremely bad rap because of organisations like the Anti-Defamation League and all, like these left-wing, all these left-wing organisations that kind of control the narrative, and they're really connected to the mainstream government and David.
So I mean, clearly, Jewish community is not a monolith.
No,
but it's portrayed as such.
Yes.
So I mean, that's what's happening here, I think.
All right, we'll keep watching the violence.
We got him on camera.
So there we go.
Anti-Nazis have attacked the only Jew in the crowd. Are you calling me a Nazi?
Yeah, you're a fucking Nazi.
I'm the only Jew here. How can you call a Jew?
You fucking call yourself a Nazi.
I love how they always pull that line, man. So they're referring to, they always say that I call myself a Nazi, and even like the age and that they love to, once call them. They're referring to a video back in like 2017 or something. I'm standing on the stage in front of thousands of people. Antifa's protesting this crowd from behind, and I'm standing there telling them I'm wearing a kippah on my head, and I turn around and I go, "Don't forget about what they call you. I am the world's proudest Jewish Nazi," like tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
How stupid is that? I grew up in ultra Orthodox community. I still go to Farbrengens. I go to Shabbos. I love my community. I'm the proudest Jew. And they use that line. They always say, he calls himself one.
Unbelievable.
I mean, you messed up with that joke, though.
Look,
I mean, like in hindsight.
I
get it. I get the joke.
In hindsight, it's not even
a joke.
It wasn't a joke. It was the
play on.
You know what?
Saying what you are. Yes.
In my journey, in what I do, I've learned like you got to be really careful about what you say, even in the heat of the moment, because you can report something, and this happens in court all the time. Like I've seen, text messages read out, and if you miss the tone, then you miss what's said. It's like you can say things in a tongue-in-cheek or ironic way.
Misconstrued.
And if you just read it flat, it's just, he did say, like technically I did say that I'm the world's proudest Jewish Nazi. Yeah. What did that mean when I said it?
You're obviously making fun of them.
I'm making fun of it, but
the context is important all the time.
Exactly.
Definitely, context is important. But that statement you made,
but the thing is, they all know it. They all know exactly. I know they know that I'm not.
But if I didn't like you, I would use the same statement. Like that's just you've done it to yourself. I have no sympathy.
Do you like me, Rukshan?
No, I do. But a lot of the time
do you like? Am I going to get this on the record?
No, because a lot of the time whenever I post anything, people will send me that video and tell me, Rukshan, do you know who this guy is? He called himself a Nazi. So I have had to see that video clip so many times.
I just love that Rukshan has to watch me even in his time off. Like when he's trying to focus on something else.
Check.
Yeah.
Even my haters, they're so invested in their hate for me that they make Rukshan rewatch a video. Like that gives me nachas, satisfaction.
Yeah. I don't know what that meant.
Nachas is satisfaction. It's such a like Jewish
pleasure.
Yeah.
Great pleasure.
Fair enough.
By the end of this, you'll be speaking Yiddish.
Yes.
Like a real Nazi. Do not take that out.
Take that out of context. I'm actually in the frame with you.
Oh, look. Oh, hold on. We got to go back here because this is where Benji does it.
How can you call a Jew?
Watch the cameraman, Benji. What a legend, though. This, like, you don't know in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, the energy, the adrenaline is hectic.
Yes.
And you're being surrounded, and you can see there's hundreds around us that hate us, screaming at us. I've been hit with a pole already. And then this, I don't know, whatever it identifies as, I don't want to misgender it, but runs up from behind.
Takes poor Benji.
Yeah.
Takes a cheap shot at him.
Yeah, like from behind. So he had no idea what it was. It was just a thing in black. And he just went straight back. And I saw the internet loved him for it. Let's not talk about it. Give him a big head.
Gang in all black. They're so brave. You're so brave covering your face.
Get fucked! Get fucked!
Look, these violent thugs.
Why are you so brave like that?
Yeah, walk away, you coward bitch.
Come by
You
yourself.
fucking dog.
Look at that kid. Look at, what is that?
The Asian.
Is that Benji's cousin?
Benji. That was just like really weird. Like, look at my face. I laughed at it. It was-
Nazi, I thought.
Well, how come you're out?
They're like, oh no, stop. You sound like an idiot.
Go with your hand up.
I'll answer your question, bro. Do you know why? Why are you here with a bunch of white people when you're from Yemen and they're anti-immigration and you're an immigrant?
I'm here with an Asian, a black man.
Exactly.
And
Don't you think that's ironic that you're here at an anti-immigration rally when you're?
Do you think I support the Nazis? They hate me. I'm a Nazi. I'm a Jew.
You're anti-working class, mate. That's what you're all about. You're all about smashing up working class organisation.
I like how he pivots. First it's about race, and now you're against working class. As soon as that narrative didn't suit him, he quickly deflects and shifts to another narrative.
Exactly.
I mean, compared to everyone else, this guy is
He was
pretty
nice.
clean. He's a pretty clean-cut guy.
I know.
He doesn't swear.
He was a union guy, he told me.
He's a union guy. He didn't fit the mold. Like, clearly there's a difference.
Yeah, no, there was like, you can see there's like a union.
Yeah, so he's got a job.
He's got a job. He's in the unions and that's why he was all about the working, you know, and he said, it annoyed me after when I watch it back. You know, you often watch these things back and you think, oh, I so should have made that point. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were so caring about the working class because were you rallying for the working class when Dan Andrews locked them all out of their jobs?
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that he either wasn't, and if he was, well, he's marching alongside all of those who were marching against the working class who were protesting for their rights back.
Funny how the working class only exists at certain times.
Yeah, when it's like all these things. It's like these guys. They only all care about Jews.
Yeah.
When it suits their narrative. They hate Jews. They all look at it. There's a freaking Palestinian flag in the back. You think they know the first thing about Palestine? Yeah. We'll get to that.
That, by the way, that flag has a Nazi history. Palestinian nationalism. I'm going to trigger a lot of people. Historically, there's a Nazi connection. The founder, he was Yasser Arafat's uncle, Haj Amin al-Husseini, was an unapologetic, fanatical Nazi. Very close to Hitler, and he spent his war years in Berlin. So he's a very big propagandist for the Nazis, on behalf of the Nazis, for the whole Arab world.
Let's just in case we didn't find enough hypocrisy in all of this, he just gave us another one that we have no idea if it's true.
I'm not really. Yeah.
I don't know that. It's probably is
You can
true.
fact check it. Fact check it. You triggered leftists.
We'll keep watching.
Look at your friends.
Look at this guy.
Look at your friend.
This guy's come around here to fight. He came around here to fight.
He's security. That's his job.
I saw him punching people.
Because they smashed me with a pole.
Help these good. That's what I'm saying to you. That's what all these people are doing.
You call the only Jew here a Nazi?
No. You are a Nazi. That's what you're all about. That's what the far right's about. It's about smashing up workers organisations.
Where were you at the vaccine mandate protest?
This is a protest that I'm hated equally by both
So
groups.
much for the work.
I wish in the moment.
You say I'm a Nazi. I'm hated by the Nazis.
Because it doesn't matter if he was there, which I doubt it, because he's like a union guy. But even if he was there, I'll be like, so why are you marching now with the people that protested them? You want to talk about smashing up the working class? That's the group. But I guarantee he looks at from the way he was talking, I get the feeling like he's part of the union hierarchy. Like he's not like the lower working class.
Yeah,
he they look down, and that hierarchy looks down at their own working class that they purport to represent. That we saw that unfold outside the CFMEU.
But again, he was conflating, right? He's conflating multiple things.
Yeah, what does that have to do with it? Even if I am against the working class, how does that make me an actual Nazi?
Yeah.
But he only brought that up after you pointed out that you were a Jew. Then he deflected.
Yeah.
You want to be separate from Jews.
That's fine. You do that.
Do you like how we cut it? Like, I want to be
as
separate
a Jew,
from
I
you
want
just
you
to
separate
show.
from me too, so that's fine.
Whoa, that's some common ground. No, don't.
It was put in there to make that point, dude. Like the actual
Both
Nazis, like say we were.
No, don't pretend you're innocent.
Sorry.
Speak to them later then? Are you going to interview them and
I am. I'm going to do exactly
Hey, look,
what I was
that guy, he's very reasonable, that guy.
This kid,
Yeah.
the one talking.
Well, he seems like a good
yeah,
kid.
He doesn't swear. He doesn't get violent.
No, he
That's a
seems like
start.
a good kid.
But
I think
he-
he's caught up with the wrong crowd.
Yeah, but he's putting us all at risk not using his mask properly.
That's a
actually
good point.
true, yes.
Like, he's wearing a
That's
mask
actually
because
true.
that's the uniform.
Yeah.
Kind of
But the
defeats the
mask-
purpose.
He's putting the working class in danger.
No, but the mask obviously is annoying him, so he put it out below his chin. So the
No, actually, he's got a water bottle. He's having a drink. That's allowed. You can't
It's not
transmit.
open.
You can't.
Technically, he's not drinking from it though. He's
Okay.
holding it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know
We
why
might
you
have
trying
to
to
get- we might
defend.
have
Trying to let him off.
We might have to get Brett Sutton on the line and ask.
But it was funny because his point, yeah, and he was reasonable, and
Yeah.
this other guy, even though he made like, but
other
he's-
guy's just deluded.
yeah, but he goes, "Are you going to go talk to the other side?" Like, well, I bet you're not going to. I'm like, dude, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, imagine that. Dude, I want to stand for you white people. How many white people did your hero kill?
it's funny, eh? Like the Nazis are like, it's all right, they killed the Jew. They also question the number of Jews and whatever. Like a bunch of that interview, I couldn't really put on.
Yeah.
I couldn't put on because it'll get banned from every.
Yeah. And they
social-
were shaming you for it, that you didn't put the full interview on. They were shaming you for not putting the full interview on.
Yeah, and
I think there's a reason behind it.
No, but I have no like. I'm happy they're sharing it in their own quarter, and I'm happy for people to watch it. Obviously, Nazis think he did really well because they got to tell the Jew what they think, and it's like the most unoriginal arguments you've ever heard. It's like the oldest stuff. These guys think they're so fresh and edgy, and it's like, dude, you're repeating stuff like
Talking points.
talking points that for 2,000 years people have and you know what they would say back to that, going, yeah, can you see people have been talking about it for 2,000 years, there must be some truth to it. But it's like so boring. But I actually don't mind the conversation, and I think we should be able to have those conversations in public. The problem is that
Get censored.
if I put it, even though I was mocking them, if I put everything he said, especially like the actual anti-Semitic stuff, they'll pull us down for sharing anti-Semitism, even though I'm arguing with the guy.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
You know what's with both sides? So I mentioned the anti-Semitism with the left, which doesn't get a lot of notice, and that goes all the way back to Karl Marx. Even though Karl Marx was a Jew, he was estranged from his religion, and the guy was anti-Semitic. He made a lot of derogatory references and comments to Jews in his book Das Kapital. But on the flip side, what doesn't get acknowledged on the Nazi side was that Hitler actually hated Christianity. Everyone knows that he hated Jews, but it's not acknowledged he hated Christianity because it reminded him of Judaism.
I didn't know that.
No, I've heard.
Have you?
Yeah.
In relation to the assaults.
The
and
cops are all right on the day.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank
We've
you.
got it all on camera.
Yep.
A lot of people pointing
We'll
out
have
how
on camera,
decent
no
they were.
dramas. All right, guys.
So I'll get the details.
Speculation,
No,
maybe
I
lawsuits
appreciate
work.
it. Thanks.
But they were good.
You're getting royalty service from the police.
Well,
They didn't even check on me. Now I don't know if that's because I'm brown or not, but they didn't even check on me once. But they're really checking on you.
They were really good to me that day.
Like 5-star service.
People probably no. I think I've seen comments. Controlled opposition
Keep
is
your
always
enemies
taken care of.
closer, right? Is that what the cops are doing?
They're just playing you, Avi.
Yeah, they were really decent on the day, and they were, they told us they were checking in on us, and there's a bit of banter with some of them as well, which is a lot better than those days of COVID. I've got to say.
I think it should be their right to protest, and the others, it's just
Even
getting violent
in a
like
second,
that. So things got a little bit hairy there, but thank goodness
here we go, we'll talk
we're
about
expecting there was potentially
Daniel.
going to be a problem because of the actors involved. Daniel, how
Love
did
how
you
he
feel that went?
stands.
Look,
very
it got very
professional,
violent. Was forced to jump in to keep everyone safe when they attacked with
He's
weapons.
just a matter of
flag
fact
poles.
about it.
Police
Yeah.
very quickly
just had to
arrived,
do
got in
what
the
I
middle,
did. Of
asked
course.
us to move on. For safety concerns, for obvious reasons, like you say, the police
Look at his
had a
hand,
hard
it's
day
all
today, so we
he-
did move
was
on.
just a
The good thing
scratch
is
for
police
Oh,
did
yeah.
say
Yeah,
they
it was
were
pretty
able to
cheap
follow
car,
up
actually.
with the assaults and the theft of
Yeah, but for
equipment.
Daniel, it's nothing. The average person,
But
it's
guys,
I've been
none of
trying.
this is possible without your help. Follow Harvey.com. Subscribe to us across all platforms. Sign up to the mailing list so you don't miss these stories.
Have you
But
followed me
also,
across platforms?
No, I haven't.
donate
I've
to Rebel
purposely
News,
not done so.
Leon, are you going to be anti-Semitic like him?
No, I
for such
You
a
follow
you.
important
Bro.
work. Follow Harvey.com. Listen, it's weird that
Are you
people
still kicked off
protesting
Facebook?
Nazis turn on the one Jew here. I find that
Look
a
at his
bit odd.
face.
When you work that out, you come back and let me know, all right?
They
Yeah,
know. The
guys,
cops know.
stay safe.
I mean, they know. Like,
And yes, I was kicked off Facebook many years ago for
I remember that.
hate speech.
You haven't been back, have you?
No, Rebel News is on there, but I'm not on there. But Facebook is a dying thing. It's dying with our age. The younger generation aren't there, so it doesn't really matter. But it is ironic that I'm kicked off Facebook for hate speech back in then. I can't even. Do you know I can't even have
A normal profile.
can't have any profile in my name?
Yeah.
Haters can. There are hate accounts in my
I know.
name.
Yeah.
And scammers. There's scammers that are in my name that are tell people that they've won.
Invest in crypto.
Yeah, they got. Oh, they just say. They just
You're
say,
one of the scammers?
Are you one of the scammers? Nah,
Awesome.
isn't it more people that look like you?
Maybe. That's true. We're actually phone calling scammers.
Cut.
You should shape your beard.
Why?
Because it's like a bit
Speaking
messy
of
down here.
racism,
Yeah.
this is great.
You don't know about different cultures, or do you just think you do?
No, I don't know about different cultures.
You always go around telling people of color what to do, how to
hear
dress. No, I don't. I'm asking you.
I want to hear
I
about.
love
Do you
when you
always go
flip
around telling people of color how to dress and how to look?
I want to hear about Daniel's breakfast.
Yeah.
That deflection. So the white anti-fascist being called out for his actual racism, and he's deflecting by talking about nothing.
Did you?
Listen,
By the
stick
way,
to
I
what
just
you
want to
do,
say
man.
one thing. I remember you got some flack because you accused someone of having a white privilege, but it was unjustified flack from people on the right, on the conservative side. What you were really doing was you were highlighting the hypocrisy of the left.
Of course.
That's what he's doing here too.
Yeah.
White people.
I don't
Christians.
believe that, white Australians, and I don't believe in all this white privilege work nonsense. But it's important for the group of people that do espouse these ideas to then point it out to them that they're actually participating in the very thing that they say.
Exactly.
And it happens all the
That's
time.
that's what you were doing
That's what it's
there.
about.
Talking points against them. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm actually showing them what they say, how ridiculous it is, what they say, what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we point that out. We should never just give them a free reign over these kind of ideas. If they really want to make that a point in society where they're pointing out white privilege, well, actually, you as a white person doing this to me right now, you're exercising a form of white privilege.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because you're a Nazi, so it's different.
Oh, okay.
They've always got a reason. It's different when they do it.
Yeah.
Racism. And he's
But that's what,
deflecting
that's
by
the
talking
trick.
about
Is
nothing.
you laugh at that. Like
Listen,
this.
stick to what you do, Bear. You're racism. If you care so much about those causes, aren't you actually hurting? Example is yesterday, just Moira Deeming, who was an ally for that issue.
This is an interesting point.
She ended up getting sacked, kicked out of the Liberal Party. So an ally who was in a position that was able to do something. Not your ally, an ally to the issue. Not your ally. You don't have many allies.
All we did was we forced that conversation on the table, and we forced the Liberal Party to denounce its own people.
But you turned the public against an issue that was in the mainstream already. You guys hijacked and gate crashed their event.
I disagree.
Nobody supports you. If people supported you, you'd have a lot more than the same group that was here a month ago. Nobody does. Antifa.
I think it's important. Two things there that kind of get missed through all of this is you've got the Nazis said two interesting things. One, they don't like Moira. They don't support Moira. Moira's not an ally.
They should get her off the hook.
That was the charge against her.
These guys don't care about her at all.
They don't like her.
Yeah.
They say she's no good because it's only one tiny issue that they may agree with her. But, like they also eat breakfast. Does that mean breakfast is Nazi? Do you know what I mean? Like, so they don't like
guilt
it.
by association.
And then on top of that, what was the other thing they said? They said they support the Liberal Party did.
Yeah.
It's good. So the Liberal Party, their actions have been supported by the Nazis.
Yeah, they're playing into their hands. Like these guys are enjoying the fact that they're creating chaos, in our community,
And they're getting
in our
attention.
society, and they're getting attention.
Undeserved attention.
Yeah.
Well, they say
Ultimately,
that their reasoning. They go they wanted the Liberal Party to kick them out to show people that the Liberal Party is not conservative enough, and there's room now for people to join them. They're recruiting.
Yeah, so,
they're using the Liberal Party, not Moira Deeming.
Yeah.
They're using the Liberal Party to recruit. That to me is insane.
Antifa has about 10 times the amount of people dressed very similar.
They're state protected.
Hold on. Many people online think that at least a number of the group, including you, are potential feds. Are you feds?
No, we're not. That's called fed jacketing. And the purpose of it is when there's a grassroots nationalist
never heard
movement
that
that tries to rise up and recruit and gain popularity and gain people to its cause, all the people that are threatened by its political presence, they accuse anyone further to the right of them as being some sort of psyop.
They look like them. That's
Essentially
like
done
them
the
in
same
America.
thing yourself when you say that they're state-sponsored, which is the same idea. You're doing exactly the same thing on so many levels. You and them, you look the same to me in every single way almost.
It's funny. So that's the point there, is that they say the same about each other. I don't personally think he's a Fed. I don't think. I wouldn't know, but I almost 100% sure that there are Feds in that group that have infiltrated them for sure. Like it'd be,
our agencies wouldn't be doing their job if they hadn't.
If they don't have someone
to
that
infiltrate
leads.
these groups.
Yeah,
like you would
that is
think,
a minimum.
You would think that they would have the capacity to infiltrate these groups.
Although I've seen how incompetent they are. But their focus for years has been this, like, they ignored like jihad groups, and they were like always focusing on these groups. They've ignored Antifa, the far left. Like they've had a focus on these groups as as they've become, as they've risen really from the old, the different groups that they were a few years ago, those anti-Islamic groups, to turn into what they've turned. The cops have been involved from then. So if I had to put money on it, there's cops. One of the dudes in this photo is a cop.
Or they bought one of them or a couple of them off.
Who knows? But there are
them.
cops in there, but I don't think he's a Fed. But that's just like based on nothing but my gut.
But I mean, Fed jacketing.
Fed
jacketing. I hadn't heard that term before.
No.
That's something you might actually learn in your induction course as a Fed.
Fed jacketing. So maybe he's a Fed.
Honestly, though, they speak their own language that we don't know, and do you know where they talk this language? Because I started like watching their stuff after they were all trolling like my YouTube, and then I went back to like the links that they were saying, and you see they all talk. They have their own kind of language, and that's the crazy thing. When you send them into the dark, they communicate. That you're not stopping them from recruiting or communicating or spreading their message. You're just making it harder, like for us. The rest of the world, the normal, everyday Australian, from seeing
to identify them,
or to identify them, to hear what they're saying, to challenge them.
Yeah, but is it a thing where they've decided now to become more visible? Like clearly, they're doing this more visibly in a public level. There would have been a time that these groups might have been more underground, but now they've become more visible publicly. And it's been happening for a few years. I know we've seen a few stories of them at the Grand Pyramid, always kind of do these public displays. Is there something going on in terms of them wanting to assert themselves on society and challenging society?
We can make assumptions. What we do know is that it's certainly served the interests of Daniel Andrews and even the liberal light faction of the Liberal Party. They played it to their advantage, and they used what happened at the Women's March, where the Nazis had infiltrated the Women's March, to their advantage, and they were able to sideline the conservative faction of the Liberal Party. And from Daniel Andrews' perspective, he was able to gain because he basically was able to destroy the opposition, divide the opposition.
Yeah, it's a good
I mean,
point.
And just on Daniel Andrews as well, during the election, we saw a lot of the talking points always reverts back to they have neo-Nazis on their side.
Yeah.
They have Nazis on their side. Nazi, this person's a Nazi, this person's spoken to a Nazi. It feels like even if these people are being opportunistic, the government in turn is also being opportunistic.
That's right.
And using that for their own momentum.
To gain more control, to pass legislation,
would
to ban more civil liberties.
I think both Dan is using it and the Liberal Party.
Liberal Party's kind of joined the bandwagon of using it as well for whatever weird reason.
They're on a path of self-destruction, the Liberal Party. They're obviously not gaining. It's just one faction with the Liberal Party gaining over another, the left-wing faction over the right-wing. But in reality, no one wins within the Liberal Party because they're unelectable.
No. Yeah, it's true.
Wedding photographer.
This is a good bit because this is the only true thing Antifa said.
To me, in every single way almost.
Dude, what are you talking about? You're a wedding photographer. Please, do not talk to me.
We just had a guy tell us all about the working class.
See
and
up
you're telling
there.
me that wedding photographers can't do this kind of work.
So much for the working class.
Below your white privilege.
I think, actually, no, you're right. I got an answer.
But this is like what you were talking about before. It's exactly the same. They're like, where I say to him, you're exerting your white privilege on him. Like, I don't actually believe that. it's literally using their
To mock
terms,
them.
their entire ideology against them.
That's right.
Because they are doing it way worse than what you and I would do.
Of course, yes.
They actually do what they say that we do, but
That's
they
right.
actually do it really maliciously.
That's right, yeah.
No, I just think I'm better than you two fucking idiots.
You said, yeah, that's fine.
Nothing to do with class or race or any of those things.
You brought up my job. You brought up my job.
I love how you pointed
Anti-fascist,
at
and
him,
then he
mate.
went straight to making fun of him like the person of colour is below him, the holy white man. Shame on you, you racist bigot. This is the first time I think we're in the same boat. We're hated by both
brother.
sides.
Brother from another mother.
I want to know what Daniel's
Yeah,
breakfast
I do.
was.
Maybe you don't agree with my principles, but
Principles at your bank account.
He doesn't monetize his work, so how is his bank account?
You're
He's
the
a wedding
worst grifter.
photographer like you mocked before.
Oh, no, you got me. He's actually a saint and a martyr.
That's right.
You know what
That's
the
right.
left does? They use taxpayer money to fund their ideology. And other political factions, people on the other side of the politics, don't have access to taxpayer money. So they have to be self-funded, and they're mocking them, mocking other people like yourself, like Abi.
But
self-funding.
It's true. That's we don't hide crowdfunding. In fact, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a crowdfund to get in middle of this clip.
Yeah.
Are you looking at my shirt? Yeah, you can get one of these at rebelstore.com.au. So
Never miss an opportunity.
never miss it.
Never miss an
But that's
opportunity.
me, and I own it. I have I don't care. I'm not ashamed because I don't think it's a bad thing for the reasons that you say. I'm like, we're not funded by anyone but the viewer. But here, he was making that claim against Rukshan, who is literally the only person that I know that up until this point, not one time, has crowdfunded anything because he has a successful wedding photography business that he's been running this alongside what he's been doing as a passion.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm talking on behalf of him like he's not here.
No, that's true. I mean, I've realized like it doesn't matter. All this accusation of scamming, grifting, all this kind of thing, again, is a form of argument. Instead of actually meeting you on the actual debate that you're having, they just turn to, well, you're a scammer and a grifter, so we actually don't even have to talk to you because your intentions from the onset are not noble as their intentions are. See, their intentions right now is they believe fighting Nazis and all this kind of stuff, but they don't understand that our intentions might be to expose these extreme elements on both sides, or even the neo-Nazis. So they discount those intentions completely, and they don't want to get into that debate at all, and they'll just call you a scammer and a grifter. And that's what they've been doing for a long time.
Forever.
And you know, I kind of wish that I had been grifting, and you know, because that's the charge that's put against me. I'm just saying, like, from what they're saying, but I didn't engage.
Do you want to share the loot?
Huh? I want to get.
You can get one of these. Actually,
get
you know, he can
someone's
get one
wife.
of these shirts. This is
But I remember you've already covered...
rebelstore.com.au. You got to help
I'm
the
going to
grip.
make rukshanstore.com.au.
You've already covered this extensively, but there was that segment with the ABC where the ABC actually targeted you for your crowdfunding efforts.
I think it was the Sydney Morning Herald and the Age, I think it
But
was.
there's nothing worse than stealing taxpayer money
Yeah.
to fund your
I mean, they don't
ideology.
see-
and
they
you're
don't see
doing
the
it under the
irony.
guise of being impartial.
That's
the
right.
biggest
Well,
slap
what
in the
was it?
face.
There was an episode on the project once. Remember where one of the they were running one of our clips and they went to the URL for the campaign and then they go there and they're like, oh, and then there happens to be the store.
Yeah.
And then I went back to I think the
ABC store.
Oh, I think it was on
the
ABC. It was
show,
on
Fran something, right?
But ABC have a store as well.
Yeah, and I went
shop.
to their site. I'm like, there's a store there, you grifters, and you're getting
that they set up on taxpayers' money.
taxpayer money. Like
That's
these
right.
people, they have no sense of like self-awareness.
No.
Like I can mock myself. I don't care. I think it's funny when they say half these things. But let's also talk about the issue.
Of course, 100%.
But they won't do that.
No, they don't want to meet people in that debate at all. No.
And they don't realize like how silly it looks after that they just mock the most ridiculous things, especially when so many of the time they do the exact thing that they say that I do.
100%.
Everything you say is either a lie or racist. So What do you stand for, you racist, bigot, lying sack of Antifa?
Keep the insults coming. That was actually a pretty good flow.
I'm not against Jews leaving the West. I think that's a good strategy.
Do you support Israel then?
Absolutely not.
I see Palestinian flags. That's.
When you say it,
I just like we're going to go to we're showing how similar they are on another issue, but I just find that so funny. It's like you don't want Jews in Australia, so you support Jews having their own land. Surely you want them out. No.
Yeah.
Why? Because we just hate the Jews.
So I wonder what his solution to the Jews is.
So, yeah, I think there is a final solution.
We'll divert a little bit. I have two Jewish men here. I've always wanted to know what is people that don't want the Jewish people to have a homeland, Israel. This kind of what this guy is saying. Where do they want you guys? What do they want you to do?
Well, it depends who.
I asked a rhetorical question. I think I know the answer.
Well, what was he's a Hitler lover, so it's pretty easy to know.
For him, yes.
To know, yeah. So, but I think it matters who and why they're against Israel. Like if you look at the Arab world, they just don't want Jews in it. They don't care if Jews are in Europe. They just don't want Jews ruling on what they would consider Islamic land, even though Islam came after Judaism. So that's like a historical fight from so long ago. Who else? Like everybody has their reasons, and it's funny because one of the arguments that Nazis like them make is, why do you think so many countries have kicked the Jews out? So that it obviously means there can't be something wrong with all these people kicking out the Jews. There must be something wrong with the Jews that they need to be kicked out. Now, what's his solution? Like I'm saying, you have a practical solution. Like if you want to kick the Jews out, you kind of need somewhere to put them. Oh, don't worry. We have a final solution the big boss came up with. Didn't work out the first time round, but maybe that's what he's thinking. Like you got to assume that's what he.
Palestinian flag. You go, well, what's going on?
This is an interesting one for me because I'm literally at a protest where both sides feel the same way you feel about me, and you make similar arguments.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine. So that's the Nazis standing for Palestine at this protest.
Well, as I mentioned before, this is historical. This is by design. It goes back all the way to Haj Amin al-Husseini.
And look, at this same rally, the anti-fascists joined the Free Palestine rally. That's how they finished it. So it wasn't only like I didn't see them join but that's what was reported. They had flags.
Many of the same arguments, especially when it comes to Jews and Zionism and controlling the world.
How is it different?
You even dress similar to them. They're all in black, their mask covering their face.
There's 12 types of Jews.
What are? Tell me, you educate me on Jews, please.
So basically, the Jewish organism is a schisming force. For example, why are there Jews against Israel?
According to strict Jewish law.
So here I actually cut, like, you have to watch the full one because he gives his reason, and it was some crazy conspiracy. Like, I didn't even know as to why there are Jews against Israel in his reasoning. And I was like, dude, you just don't know the Jewish community at all. You have no idea. You're like, you've come up with, or you've learnt this conspiracy theory where it's actually really simple as to why, which is the reason I give here, is because they come from a sect that believes a certain thing, but they're a minority. But I cut out his conspiracy theory, one, because I think that it was just too long, and two, because I'm scared. But it was just a crazy conspiracy.
The people of Israel, the Jews, shouldn't be ruling autonomously on the state of Israel without the Messiah. The Messiah has to come first.
You see his head? He's like,
Who's the Messiah?
So
you can see his eyes. He got educated.
That's why they're saying that they can't be there. That's why. That's the entire argument. And now, do you have a spectrum? Hold on, let me educate you there. There's a spectrum of those ultra Orthodox. There are those like the ones that march with the terrorists, and then there are those that believe that that the Jews shouldn't be there, but we shouldn't side with the enemy. And then there's all the other Jews, the majority, where they believe no, we need a state, because when people like what you believe actually became popular, unlike this tiny, sad excuse for a minority, when it actually became a popular, and it has happened several times in history, they believe we need a place, one state in the entire world where Jews are safe.
So you're saying when Hitler comes back, then you need an Israel.
You should agree with that. You want all the Jews out, so perfect. They've got a safe place. So why are you against Israel?
I'll chat to you later. Have you got a phone to pick with you?
But going back to the explanation, I think I don't know if the average person understands what I was saying there. And the sect you come from is a sect, or the sect that you're a part of. I don't know. We call it sect. I think sect has a negative connotation. It's the movement, the Chabad movement. They're not, they're not Zionists, but they're also
supportive.
They support the state of Israel, because I think the rebel was supportive of the state of Israel. But that sect that they're talking about, which is the
Notori Carter,
right. they're such a tiny minority of Jews, and they don't hate the state of Israel for the reason that he gave, which was just batshit crazy. It is just a religious interpretation, a fundamentalist religious interpretation. They don't even hate the state of Israel for the reason that the people they rally with hate Israel. Because according to their belief, is one day the Jews will be there. It's just when the Messiah comes. We just can't, according to Jewish law, be ruling over ourselves there, so we should be under the Palestinians.
Many other ultra-Orthodox Jews share a similar view, but this particular group, the Notori Carter, take it too far. They literally side with the terrorists. So what they're doing is beyond the pale.
The other ones that share their view in theory, as in
that's right.
They share the religious view that Jews should not be ruling.
But they don't collaborate with Hamas, and that's what these guys. That's what they do.
But they also don't argue on historically the Jews were there, or it was the land of the Jews back in the biblical times, or the Jews were kicked out, or any of the history, the factual history. It's literally an argument on interpretation of text of Jewish, like old religious text. So it's to me, it's funny to see, because also when these people, when they do their like anti-Semitic memes or whatever, when you see the Nazi ones from back in the 30s they were always depicting like Jews,
Orthodox Jews,
ultra-Orthodox Jews, which themselves, like they talk about, everything is for Israel and we're doing things for the Israel. And then they'll have like a character of an ultra-Orthodox Jew who,
he's
by the way,
anti-Zionist.
he would be anti-Zionist. He would be anti-Israel himself. Do you understand? Like, it's funny when you actually know the Jewish community and you realize that there is no one single view.
Yeah.
And even on something as important as Israel, for the one Jewish state, for the one, one of the most persecuted, if not the most persecuted people in history, the one little Jewish state, not everybody from the community agrees on it for different reasons.
So are these discussions happening amongst the Jewish community?
For sure. There's the whole discussion of Israel is always...
There's a saying in the Jewish community, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. That's all what we do. We love to argue and debate.
Yeah, they're having, like I'm Yemenite Jew, right? Like my mum's side. And they say you've got to, so my family, where they live is like 4 blocks each way are all my cousins in Kfar Saba, in Israel, in an area. And they have in the center is like the courtyard where the synagogues are. So there's 4 synagogues, but everyone's found like, why do you need 4 synagogues? You need like the one, and they're all the synagogues are family. So they're all related. And they go, you need one that you go to, one that you definitely don't go to. But that's the way it is. Like, it's like everybody has a strong opinion. Imagine that. A community that I come from, everybody holds strong opinions.
Chat to you later. Have you got a phone to pick with
Oh,
you?
this
Mate,
guy.
I've got so much shit from the last time you bloody put me on. Called me an actor. It was bloody funny. It was good.
I can't remember.
But mate, I got that much shit from it. Like, everyone's ringing up going, hey, Holmes, you're an actor, you're an actor, you're an actor.
All the boys.
That's just what it goes with it, mate.
You deserve every bit of it.
Time to join home and away. I just say, next time I see you, I think
Mate.
I hope they don't get reprimanded
I
for
know,
being too nice to you.
Poor guy, man. I feel bad for him.
He's the inspector. He was like running the show the other day. But like, you know what? It's funny because when I uploaded this as a reel, like I jokingly called it like police officer confront. And like the comment, well, not even clickbait. Like I was joking. He is confronting me, but he was being it was banter. It was banter, and he was having a laugh with me. He was a good guy. I like him. I think we need more of that. And like people, the comments are like, chill out. He's just having a laugh. I'm like, dude, I'm having a laugh. Can you chill out? People take things literal, but no, I thought police on the day were really like they were warm, they were nice to me, they were, and then when it kicked off, they had my back. You know what I mean? They were everything I would have wanted through COVID.
You don't work for the feds.
Yeah, this is controlled opposition.
No, honestly, stop winking at the Jew. Honestly, I think suing them for their bad behavior through COVID changed it, because even before COVID, towards end of 2019, when I was going to do what I was doing here at a lot of especially the left wing protests where Antifa would get violent instantly, police would arrest me for my safety. That's what they did. And they would say,
"Isn't that ironic?" Like 6 months later, they put millions of people under house arrest for their safety.
Everybody got a taste of, and then when we sued them, and they admitted and apologized, in the words of the report, Avi Yemini, we unlawfully arrested him for while reporting for Rebel News. Now I get the red carpet. They're completely different, and that's why you have to stand up for yourself and speak truth to power, and then carry on and carry through with the threat, because otherwise they just walk all over you. And we've seen that. You were there at all those protests.
I've seen that. Definitely the police behavior now in terms of how they're managing these protests is a lot better. I think, again, on the police behavior, we're seeing issues, though, people raising the issue that they're not confronting the Nazis. No. I think a lot of the community assume that because there's these Nazis there, the police are going to go there and beat their heads in and arrest them or whatever.
But what do you want them to do?
No, they can't do that because no laws are being broken at that present time.
And I don't want laws. Like, I think just ignore them and let them.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I mean, are you? Do you think the police should take more action when these things are happening?
Well, with the situation, with the Nazi situation, it appears that they were just being on their best behavior. They're on guard.
But let's talk about like the what was it for the women's rally, the Let Women Speak rally, because there, I think it came. You could see it. Police were not only like allowing them to do what they were doing; they were actually helping them march through.
Something weird.
That was weird.
That was I was there. And that was really weird because
they also turned on the trans activists.
Yeah. When I first got there, the police had actually cordoned everyone off. They had made a conscious decision that all these groups are separate.
Yeah.
And the Nazis and, the women's rights rally.
So they separated the Nazis from the women.
Everything was separate because I couldn't go at one point to the women's rights rally side because the police had cordoned that area off and they'd cordoned the Nazis off. But there was something that happened where I think from my interpretation, the Nazis may have negotiated with the police to say that we just want to go take this photo on the steps or do whatever it is, and then we'll leave. And I personally believe the police allowed them to do that, to take their photo, to do that, because they wanted them out of that space. And then they ushered them out. So from a policing perspective, it looks like the police wanted to de-escalate the environment and get them out of there if they were going to leave that. And for them, I think the bargaining chip was to allow them to get close, to get whatever they wanted to do there, that photo on the steps or whatever, and let them go. So that photo that we see, my impression is the police allowed that to happen.
And I think in that case, they shouldn't have.
No, they shouldn't have let them get to the close to the women's protest.
They should let them, they can protest, they can do their stupid whatever. Like, I am not one of those people, and I know in my community there are some that stand strongly against me and they come from a good place. But I think that a lot of the time our community is way too sensitive in a way that will come back and bite us one day. Because, today you can designate, and it is a hate symbol, but everybody knows it's hate. Everybody knows the Nazi symbol is a hate symbol. Everybody knows the Roman salute is a hate symbol. So let the idiot do it, and then we know who our enemy is. He's right in front of us. But if you let them ban all these symbols, what do you think's going to happen when, they designate the Israeli flag as a hate symbol.
Exactly.
They go and that's where
It's
we're
a
going to
slippery
head.
slope.
That's where we're going to get
That's
to
what it
because
is.
those same leftists, all those leftists there, anyone there that rally, and all those people, they'll say that Israel's flag is a hate symbol.
Whatever Daniel Andrews does, he doesn't do it out of the kindness of his heart. He's not an ethical person. He's not a moral person. That's very clear.
It's not only Daniel Andrews.
There's an ulterior motive.
And
It's not only Daniel Andrews.
Definitely, we have to find that balance because I think it's laughable for us to think that just by getting rid of these symbols and these gestures, that these groups just go away then. They find ways around it.
Well, they become more radicalized.
It emboldens them even more.
Exactly.
So it can also have a reverse effect because they're acting like everyone around in the city is going around making these gestures and symbols. They're not. It's this small group. We know who they are. Like you said.
But like you said before, you're starting to notice them more than ever.
Yeah.
They weren't here before.
No.
They're suddenly here when you're banning everything.
Well, I look, my suspicion is any major protest now in Melbourne, this group is going to come because they now know that they actually have a type of power. And we might not like them having that power, but they've actually been given that power by these politicians, by the media, and by the police who have, really just not been able to deal with them in the manner, like you said, maybe ignoring some aspects of what they're doing, not giving them that weight in the sense of connecting them to the issues that they have nothing to do with. For instance, we're saying that these people are also there because of supporting women's rights. They're not for women's rights, but we're conflating these issues and giving them power with this. So, look, I definitely think we're going to see them more and more. And I don't know how that's going to end up because we're going to see the other groups come more and more. And it's going to be a very complex situation going forward.
And banning anything is not going to work.
No, banning them is
It never does. It backfires.
No.
It's a safe public space where you can't get me.
Our position on war is no more brothers' wars. We don't want white men fighting and dying.
Are you going to tell your Azov brothers to put their arms down?
No, they're fighting for national sovereignty. I'm not going to tell them to do that. Absolutely not.
They're killing other white people.
They are defending their land. Putin.
So you support the Ukrainians?
I support any.
Why do all Nazis support the Ukrainians?
They're protecting their national sovereignty.
It's good to see that they're putting.
So that's a good war with white
Well,
people.
are you Ukraine? What's your?
Well, my background, I am from the Ukraine. I was born in the Ukraine.
Yeah, so Ukrainian.
So my father knows a lot about the Nazism that's rife in
Ukraine. We don't even need to get into that. But how funny is that? How funny is that? And why do
the goalposts?
And why do we keep seeing that? Why do we see that? I'm not saying Putin's the good guy, but a point that I'm noticing here is Nazis tend to, around the world, these neo-Nazis group, they sympathize with Ukraine.
Which is ironic because, one, Hitler hated the Slavic people. But the reason why the Ukrainians historically aligned themselves to the Nazis is because they saw them as liberators from the Soviets. Because Stalin was the badder person to them at the time. And they hated the Russians. So their hatred for the Russians put them into the Nazi camp. And the Nazis despised them. There was a guy, a nationalist called Stefan Bandera, who was a pro-Nazi. And during the war, at the start of the war, that the Nazis used him as a puppet. But then through most of the war, they threw him into a prison in Berlin. And then towards the end of the war, they took him out again for propaganda purposes. But that gets lost on a lot of Ukrainian nationalists.
It's funny, this guy,
he knows a lot.
He knows a lot, or he knows how to make up a lot.
He's very
fact checkers. There's going to be a lot of triggered fact checkers out there.
But it is a funny point that the allegation that the far right is pro-Russia, right? That's what they always say. Because
that's one of the weirdest allegations.
It's one of the weirdest allegations. Like anyone that questions the war or questions Zelensky, even if they don't like Putin, even if they condemn the invasion, but if they question anything, suddenly you're a far right. You're pro-Russian. You're far right. And it's like the actual far right, they full support the war.
But before Trump, pro-Russian was conflated always with the left traditionally during the Cold War. Right up until Trump changed things. All of a sudden, being pro-Russian became a right-wing thing.
Yeah, no, that's kind of when I noticed the difference as well.
It's good to see that they're putting safety first. Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 masks between them. Good on them. Why don't you wear another? Why don't you put another mask on? You're putting us all at risk.
Why don't you fuck off?
I'm right here. You're the one that walked to me.
Why don't you fuck off?
So how does it feel knowing that your group attacked the only Jew here?
An argument.
Where are you from?
I'm-
Where are you from?
What are you laughing at?
This escalates.
It just has it's like walk up to me,
Yeah.
then tell me to piss off, and the irony is, like, if you read the sign in a second, it says like refugees welcome here, and the group walked up to me and told me to fuck off.
They told actually they saw it in your video. You didn't put it in there,
What?
but they also told me to fuck off.
Yeah, but no one cares about
Wow.
it. Yeah. Oh, you're a refugee.
I'm not a refugee, but I'm just saying. And then they were calling.
How
me,
do they? They don't know you're a
They don't
refugee.
know
You should
that.
just say you are.
But they told me to f off, and then they were calling me. They weren't even using my actual name. They were calling me Roshan.
Right. They
misnamed
They
me.
misnamed you.
I should be offended by something, right? They
They
misnamed me.
misnamed you, but it's just all ironic that they're doing all of that, condemning the two. I don't think any of them are people.
And on top of that, she's
colour-
not observing social distancing.
Oh no, social.
That's the main
Yeah.
issue.
And then she claims this is the claim that I heard a few times in the day. She goes, I'm a Jewish. I'm a Jewish. I don't think a Jewish person would go, I'm a Jewish. She goes, I'm a Jewish, so you should fuck off. They
appropriate anything.
Appropriate anything. Yeah, that's right. She's appropriating my religion.
Fuck off. Where are you from?
Where the fuck are you from?
Why are you?
Fuck off.
Wear another mask.
Fuck off.
You look like the Nazis the way you're dressed. You look exactly like the Nazis.
She did. Hold on. You tell me now that this. Where is she? Where is she coming?
You look like the Nazis the way you're dressed.
That's exactly the same.
She looks like a little anime character.
Oh, there we go. I got it. And she's even got half the Roman salute happening. And
No
boom.
social distancing.
Don't touch.
Really? You're going to do that in front of Daniel?
Yeah, bit of reality there.
There you go.
Would have woken them up.
Police.
You know, people act differently when they're in large crowds, when they're with their friends.
They're all like
They
that.
wouldn't do that if they were by themselves or with another person.
Oh, there you go. Refugees. Well,
Yeah, Nazis are not. No borders, no nations.
no borders, no
I mean,
nation.
it's all over the place.
So, but what are we,
Where are refugees welcome to if there's no borders? No
and where are we welcome to? That I got to fuck off. But where do I go if I'm not welcome here and there's no borders? She sounds very similar to the Nazis. They just want us not to go to Israel, but they want us.
Police now dispersing what's left of the tolerant left and the small group of neo-Nazis. What we've learnt here today is that both groups, similar views, think that the other is the enemy, but in fact, both are the enemy of our state. And both are only coming to prominence because of each other. We've got to cut out the noise and fight for victory. I'm Yemini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia.
There we go. I think that
Well said.
sums it up.
Yeah,
What do you reckon?
Good way to end. Nice final statement.
What about your final statement? What did you learn from it all?
What I learned is that they're two, as I said before, these are two sides of the same coin. Really, there's only one winner that benefits from it, and that's the establishment. So it's a classic divide and conquer strategy. They want to divide people, and it's easier to control the masses when they're divided.
No, I agree. Definitely. I feel like I can't see the difference between these two groups. And for me, I just see them both equally as crazy. Obviously, I know one side instinctively. I know that side is bad. They don't need to be doing anything. I just know from what they represent that they're bad. But the other side, I'm seeing from the actual behavior in public that's also a problem. And it's even a bigger problem because we seem to acknowledge only one side of this problem. So the actual one group is put under the spotlight, rightly so, rightly condemned. The other group, everything is under the carpet, everything is ignored, and it keeps escalating and escalating. And I think both groups are bad for society. And there is a argument to be made that mainstream Australians, reasonable Australians, everyday Australians can tell the difference. And I think the establishment, the media, they're worried about showing people that there is this other group as well. And, we need to make that more visible. As much as the Nazis are making themselves visible, I think it's important that we also make the other side who are behaving in this manner visible as well.
Well said. That's it. Thanks for your. Thanks for joining
having
us
me
today.
on your second podcast.
Yeah.
What an
And
honor.
wait, this is 142
This is our 140
episode.
episode.
Thank you for joining us on the Divide and Conquer the Opposition.
The opposition, because there is no
podcast.
other opposition in our state.
But we're
or
just
our
talking about
country.
Divide and Conquer. I'm thinking we're
It's
talking
the
about
opposition.
dividing with the opposition.
Is that the name of your podcast?
The
Divide and
Opposition
Conquer?
podcast.
The opposition.
We're joining the whole Divide and Conquer. We were going to call ourselves Controlled Opposition, but the
you're going to
Nazis
trigger a lot of people.
The Nazis from both sides were going to run with it. Thanks, guys. If you want to watch the full video uninterrupted without the bad commentary from Rukshan, you can you can check it out at rebelnews.com.au or on our YouTube. Check out all our social media and give us all follows. Yeah, Rukshan's looking a bit sad. How many followers do you have on Twitter?
I think
charity, guys. I believe in charity. Head over to Rukshan's Twitter.
At the Real Rukshan, guys. You can find me on Facebook,
Everywhere.
YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Rumble, at the Real Rukshan.
He needs it.